Westeros.
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Kyle.
We are your Morning Throners. And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners with Jaime 2 on deck. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Pretty good.
It's going.
Back at it.
What do you think of the chapter, Kyle? Summary first.
The summary first is Tywin's dead and taken home, right?
That Tywin's dead has been the summary of like 6 chapters so far.
All right, well that's where it opens.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm kind of pointing that out that this is a running theme.
Okay. Jaime talks to Kevin, and then he talks to Cersei.
Yep, Cersei with company, then Cersei alone, and then Loras at the end.
Oh, Loras. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I mean, you didn't like the last chapter much. I think I didn't like this one.
You're crazy.
Yeah, I think this one's better, actually.
I know there's a lot of names, and I'm sure you like that kind of stuff, but like I couldn't care about Jaime's plight in this one. I don't know. Just wasn't feeling Jaime today.
I think the main 2 things to keep an eye out for when we go back through it is we're learning about like what Cersei's doing, right? Like there's a part where Jaime seems to pull a bunch of info out of his ass. He doesn't really say where he got it. And even at one point, Cersei's like, do you have a spy spying on me? Because he's like, hey, I hear you're going to appoint these people. I think that's interesting because I think that's the first we're hearing about some of that.
Okay.
The other thing is Lady Taina Merryweather was Marjorie's
She's the one that caught her in the hall out, right?
Exactly.
Cersei in the hall.
And now they're like lounging in Cersei's bedroom,
yeah,
like laughing and joking about stuff. So like that relationship has grown. So I would say those 2 are things to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, I mean, important plot points, I'm sure. Just boring presentation to me.
I get
this one. I couldn't get into his headspace, and I just didn't care about, like I said, poor Jaime, this chapter.
Yeah. It sucks.
We just read very differently because I was like bam, 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 right through little 3 things.
That's fine, man.
Pop.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know if it's like crazy content that we're reading right now. I think it just read a little bit better than the last 2.
Again, I read it on my iPad, so my page numbers are slightly different. But mine was like 15 pages, and again, I feel like it does break down into 3 pretty good sections, like Jaime and Kevin, Jaime and Cersei, Jaime and Loras. So again,
and I don't think my notes are crazy. Like I actually think like if we don't fuck around, like we'd get through this one pretty quick.
The thing I noticed about my notes is they're long, but it's a lot of lists. There's a time here where Jaime lists a bunch of sigils and he lists a bunch of names, which sucks for note taking.
I think that's part of my problem right there. It sucks for like trying to read through and separate and try and pull out meaning from each of those. Because then it's like, okay, who's this guy? Have I heard of him? I don't know him.
Because there's 20 and 2 of them are important.
Exactly. They went through like everybody in the Night's Watch at the end, or not Night's Watch, the
King's Guard.
Kingsguard. Yeah, so like exactly, that's my plight. It's like I'm like reading this stuff and I'm like, fuck, I'm probably missing so much.
That shit doesn't matter. I ignore 98% of the list of names. Like they don't matter. None of them matter.
That's what I'm here for. That's the trick. Is there's like 20 of them and like 2 of them matter. So I think it is easy to just read by them, right? Because it's like to figure out which 2 of these 20 would matter. It would take too much work. I've done the work. That's why you got the podcast. So tune in. Stay tuned for the list when we get there.
Should we tell everybody what we're sipping on?
We did.
We had a request.
I fucked up in the last edit, and then somehow that got blamed on us being drunk during the podcast. Me editing days later somehow. But yeah, and part of that is somebody said we should say we're sipping on PBR.
To be fair to our fans, were you drinking while editing? Most likely.
Probably.
Yeah. Kyle, sipping?
I have a triple IPA is what I got.
Oh boy. So. All right, so Kyle's got to edit this one right after he finishes that.
Paps. Kyle's got the IBA. Jeff's got a whiskey.
IPA. You're gonna sound like a moron.
I'm on Gentleman Jack.
Gentleman Jack. Ooh, fancy.
All right, so let's jump into this thing. All right, Jaime 2. We are at the gates of the gods as Tywin's getting rolled west, and he's got a whole gang with him. Pretty much the West Bannermen. We get the list. Nelson's about to drop it on us here soon. But there are a bunch of people escorting him out. Right.
You see some of the people we saw last week or the other time, like the Blue Beetle and the Green Arrow. I remember them for sure.
So we got Boar, that's House Craycall. We got Badger, House Leiden. Beetles, House Betley. Green Arrow, House Sarsfield. Red Ox, House Prester. Crossed Halberds, House Yarwick. Cross Spears, House Stackspear. A Tree Cat, House Myatt. A Strawberry, House Turnberry. A Maunch,
Jeff, what's a march? I googled it already.
Game of Thrones word. I googled it too.
Game of Thrones word.
It's a fucking lady's sleeve.
Yeah, it's like a rip-offable sleeve.
That's the worst sigil ever.
It's like a Velcroed on sleeve.
That's like back when you were in elementary school and you went to recess and you had the zip-off pants that became shorts.
Exactly.
I would say that the sigil looks more like a harp on a shield, the way it's kind of flows.
Well, the way I read it too is it's the reason it's a rip-offable sleeve. It's a rip-offable sleeve for a woman to give to a knight as like their favor type thing. So,
I gotcha. I just meant the way it looked on the shield aesthetically. It wasn't just like a fucking
it looks
t-shirt
weird.
sleeve on this thing. It looks like a harp kind of. It's like so big and flowy. It's a little more elegant than it sounds, Jeff. I guess
that family needs to be extinguished. That's an awful sigil.
I don't know if I would be like. I was always confused by the whole like giving your favor, like because at first it's like, are you giving me your used handkerchief? Like keep that shit to yourself. And they're like, okay, even this, like you're ripping off a sleeve. Like why do I want your sleeve? Like,
well, I think the point of it's not they're not wiping their nose with it. They're like spraying their perfume with it so that you can smell them. Not that you can like use their snot rag.
Gotcha. There's no pictures and stuff, so it's a way to remember them.
Yeah,
it's kind of just like a business.
It's kind of like the people going off to war with the little wallet picture in there. Something to like.
Okay, I gotcha. I feel like this is creepier, but I'd be more of a lock of hair guy. Give me a lock of hair to remember you by.
Dude, that's the weirdest fucking thing I've ever heard.
over a
crazy.
handkerchief, even if it's not a used one.
What you just said is actually fucking serial killer shit.
I knew that would be a weird thing. I mean, I know obviously serial cat's that's like a classic.
You might as well just ask for like
saying,
a vial of blood, just like to make sure that you can confirm it's their DNA.
I'm not saying I want locks of hair from everybody. I'm saying if I had to choose between your handkerchief, sleeve, and hair, I think I would go hair.
Sleeve.
You just became the main subject of like 9 murders.
You could also give me a few pieces of hair, and I feel like it would affect you less than giving me a sleeve. You give me your sleeve, your arm's gonna be cold all day. You give me a few pieces of hair, you're not even gonna notice after 2 minutes.
My hairline's gonna be all janky if I give you all my hair.
Just give me a couple.
All right, finish this list off. Was Mouch the last one?
Mouch, which was House Hamill, and then the 4 Sunburst Counterchange, which was House Kenning of Case.
Okay. Yep. The one thing, and then there's a bunch of Lannister men too, right? So there's
a few specific lords: Lord Titus Brax, Lord Ontario.
So are any of these guys the sigils that we had just heard?
No.
Can you connect them there? No. Okay. What are these guys' sigils? Do you know?
Brax
is that too much?
I know Brax is a unicorn. Plum, I think, is 3 purple balls. Banefort and Jast, I'm not sure. Jast is 3 lion's heads. House Banefort is, this is a cool one. A hooded man, black on gray, with a fiery treasure. It looks like
what's a treasure? Like a present, like a Santa Claus present box.
It's one of those special herald words.
It's not actually a treasure.
No, the treasure is like this flaming thing.
Okay,
that is Banefort. So these 4 guys, Titus Brax, Ontario, Jast, Lord Quentin Banefort, and Lord Philip Plum. I think Titus, Ontario, and Quentin Banefort were with Jaime on the way to the Whispering Woods and got captured with Jaime at the Whispering Woods.
By Rob.
So I don't know if these guys are recently released, but like they might have been held. I could probably, there might be a way I could look at my notes and find a little bit more, but it's not worth it for these guys. But I guess potentially these guys have been held captive since maybe the Red Wedding, right? Like up until the Red Wedding, that's when they probably definitely would have got released. That's kind of when the North stopped being an army. And I think at one point he says this one guy, Jast, like there was rumors of his death, and they're not far wrong by the look of him. Like this guy did not fare well in captivity, and he thinks the next guy, Quentin Banefort, had weathered battle better and looked ready for more war. So Jaime, he doesn't call it out, but he's commenting that these guys seasoned, been through it, at least been through the Whispering Woods. So.
Well, that one dude sounded like Lancel almost, like just completely emaciated.
Yeah.
So
yeah, dude got fucked up.
Go ahead, Joe.
And then after that, there's a bunch of crossbow men and just like, I don't know, cavalry knights and maybe some walking guys. I didn't have those numbers down, but
I think the main point of that is it's the forces are leaving King's Landing, right?
Yep.
Yes. And we learn more about that later. Yeah.
And so he rides up onto Sir Kevin. They kind of go back and forth about how Cersei sucks and how he doesn't appreciate either of them. And Jaime's kind of like, well, fuck it. I can't jape back too much because then I'm just going to piss him off, and I'm trying to like get him to be on our side still.
Yeah.
I don't have many details of that part of it.
I think at one point, Jaime's just like, Kevin just like, what do you want? Like, are you here on behalf of Cersei? He's like, no, I'm here because of Cersei, but not on her behalf is like kind of the answer. But Jaime doesn't quite spell it out. But he's like, yeah, you and Cersei need to start getting along again. And at one point he says, I'm like, oh, Balon Swan is watching Tommen. Or, yeah, Kevin asks how the king is. And he's like, oh, he's good. Balon Swan's guarding him. Jaime's like, Balon's a good and valiant knight. And Kevin's like, once that went without saying for Kingsguard. And
yeah, this is a heated fucking conversation for sure. Kevin is not happy. Like, we know that he was stripped of like all his
everything,
like everything exactly by Cersei, and he's obviously blaming Jaime here as well. So,
well, and he called Cersei out for sleeping with Jaime. Cersei told Jaime he knows this, and he kind of acknowledges that at the end. Yeah.
Okay, that was before too. Okay, yeah. I was gonna. I thought you were talking about the end of this conversation, but I forgot that it happened earlier. That he said it to Cersei.
Cersei had told Jaime this. Jaime was like, does he really know or does he just suspect because of the letter? And then at the end of this conversation, he's like, okay, Cersei was right. So,
yeah.
Yep, these guys are going to Derry. See, and it seems like that's kind of where Kevin's going to be now, right? Because she made one of her cousins the Castellan, I think Damien. Then she made this other guy, Devin, the Warden of the West.
Kevin's putting roots down. He's putting roots down in Derry. He got a checklist of things he's got to do.
Exactly. And Kyle alluded to it, but exactly what happened was Kevin gave Cersei the ultimatum, is like, hey, send me either to Castle Rock or leave me here to be Hand. But wherever I go, you're going the other place. So if you want me to be Hand, you got to go back to Castle Rock. And Cersei's basically like, well, how about this? Fuck you, you get nothing. And gave away Castle Rock to other people. She's like, you're not Hand now. So it's kind of what he doesn't have anything else to do. He's got to go to Derry. Where else is he going to go?
100%. Yeah,
I'm sure he'd be welcome back at Castle Rock, but it wouldn't be.
There's nothing for him. Like like he was expecting some, at least important duties, and they got stripped.
Yep, exactly. So Lancel's there, like where they're walking through, not really part of this conversation, but he's like not far
Jaime
off.
Sees him, yeah,
and he's not looking good.
Yeah, we've never gotten a good description of him since the end of that, or not a positive description of him since the end of that Battle of Blackwater.
Yeah, here Jaime says, with his hollow eyes and dry white hair, he looked older than Lord Jast, who was the one who didn't look like he survived captivity well. And Jaime says that he had wanted to visit Lancel a bunch, right, since he's been back. But every time he went to, he was either with Kevin or with Septon or something. He was never alone. And the reason Jaime wants to visit is obviously because Tyrion said fucking Lancel and Osmond and Moonboy for all I know.
I mean, you made it sound like he wanted to go see Lancel to see how he was doing, but he wanted to go because he's trying to get information out of him.
It's not spelled out. Jaime doesn't say that's why, but yes, I think you're right.
But it's Jaime.
That makes the most sense.
That's exactly what he does at the end of this chapter. So because
here he says like when he looked back at Lancel, his like phantom fingers itched, and then he thinks the whole Tyrion line.
I'm about to fight his bitch ass.
So Jaime turns back to Kevin. He's like, so you're gonna stay at Derry after the wedding? Kevin's like, yeah, the Hound's around. Maybe that's what I'll busy myself with, is taking care of the Hound. Word is he might have even teamed up with Dondarrion,
which we've heard a couple times.
Yeah, and I don't know if I said it last time, but I kept forgetting that these are the dudes that bring people back to life. So maybe they found him dead and brought him back. Like maybe that's the next thing it could be. I don't know if I said that yet.
Little kiss of life. You did not. I don't think you did say that.
I don't know if I said that explicitly, but I mean he was dying, so it would make sense if something like that happened. But anyway,
I mean, they're kind of collecting people at that point, right?
For sure, yeah, exactly. Like I mean, especially we don't know how. Like, does it make him subservient? Although. What we hear about him, what he did is...
Well, I'm not talking about Beric now. I'm saying, do we know any other dead people that group happened to collect recently?
Cat.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was looking for.
I remember. Yeah. But no, what I'm saying, I guess, is...
Cat and Sandor just double teaming
people. The story of this battle is, like, horrible, right? Like, at the Salt Pens, they did some terrible, terrible shit. So, like, that seems a little extreme for what we had heard of the Hound. Like, I mean, I know he was a bad dude, but that seems... Maybe the Mountain. Right? Like, that seems over the top.
Yeah, very bad for the ladies. Brienne heard that they were, like, not only raping everybody, but cutting off their teats as trophies and, like, not good. Jaime says it's, like, very brutal.
Brutal shit. Yeah.
Not good things in Westeros, especially when, like, the war is kind of, like, dead right now, right? Like, no one's actually fighting.
Children butchered in their mother arms. People put to the torch.
Yep.
Or the town was put to the torch. Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah.
But then we get a Randall Tarley drop. Let him deal with the outlaws.
Yeah, Jaime takes one last shot at, like, come on, Kev, like, come be Hand. Like, any of these people can do what you're trying to do here. We need you.
You'd be better used at Riverrun. And Kevin's like, nope, you got Devin. You got Devin Lannister at Riverrun. You don't need me. Ooh, Devin, way better than Kevin.
Yeah, Lancel needs me.
I'm the old man around the block.
Yep. And Jaime's like, well, keep your knights close if you're going after Sandor. And he's like, is that a threat? And Jaime's like, no, like it actually wasn't.
Which is kind of like
trying to be nice.
It's kind of stupid. Like, actually, like, don't get fucked up by the Hound, like by with a weak ass guard.
Yeah, but if you're Kevin too, like, and you just had this conversation with Cersei where she is everything she's saying to you is like kind of like a backhanded insult. You know what I mean? And then she ends up throwing, like, you would be on edge. Like, Kevin's probably picturing Jaime and Cersei on this, like, clearly he's picturing Jaime and Cersei like on the same team. Where we're in Jaime's head, we're seeing that's not quite that simple. So
it would, and there's not whole lot of harmony going on right there. With
he definitely still leans Cersei, but yeah, you're right. It's not what it was once. I will agree.
Yeah.
And I think that he does then think right after this conversation, like, Cersei's definitely going to try to go kill his ass. Like, how is she going to do it? Like, so I guess if you are Kevin, you're like, all right, like, send your shit, Cersei. Like, I'm ready. Like, he's probably on guard.
I don't know. Even that you might not expect. You might not expect your niece to send people to kill you.
You shouldn't, because Kinslayer is like the worst thing you can do, right? That's one of the things that we've heard all along.
Yeah, but if it's a paid... Yeah, but if you're just paying somebody else, is it like how's it
I just don't think
what's the difference, man?
If Kevin truly knows what Cersei's kind of been doing with Jaime and kind of like her character, I don't think he's not on guard about shit that she would do.
Well, I think it's funny that Jaime is having the same thought here about Kevin that I feel like Tyrion had this exact same thought about Lancel. When Tyrion was like using Lancel to get information on Cersei, he's like, oh man, once she finds out that you're spying on her, like, you're so fucked.
You're gone.
He's like, oh, Cersei's going to kill you in an instant. I feel like Tyrion definitely thought something like that. And now here Jaime is, which is, I feel like it speaks more to Cersei than either Tyrion or Jaime. That like, they're afraid that their sister's going to kill family members.
So Jaime, sorry, go.
I was just going to say it could happen. She seems like, although the only one we know that has killed a family member so far is Tyrion, so.
Yeah, father. Yeah, so then he goes and talks to Lancel real quick.
Well, right before that, he's like, yo, come on, Unc, like, help us out. And he's like, she has my terms. Take them back to her. Like, next time you're in your bedchamber, you guys can talk about what my terms are.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, fuck, damn it, he does know. She's definitely killing him. But then, old cousin Lancel rides up. And quick little combo with those two.
Yeah, I think at first Jaime's like mocking him. He's like, hey, congratulations. Well, he's like, congratulations on your cousin. I want to go, but I have duties to attend to. He's like, but Jaime's like, but I hate to miss your bedding. I know it's your first marriage, but it's your wife's second marriage. So he's like, she should be able to show you where things go.
She'll show you what's going on there.
And Lancel's like, well, I know enough to do my duty, which to me just reminds me of Stannis. Because I feel like what we always heard about Stannis was that, like,
I think
he didn't love his wife, but he would visit her once a year to do his duty as a husband.
Yeah,
type thing.
Which doesn't make much sense if you're trying to have
you need heirs. Yeah.
But then Lancel leaves the conversation like, man, I'm praying for you two. Like, I'm praying for your sister for sure. She needs help. She needs wisdom from the crone and the
protection from the warrior. And he's like, why does she need? Jaime's like, why does she need the warrior? She has me. I don't know if he says that or just
he
thinks
does.
It.
No, he does. I think he does.
Then he rides off.
And he's like, Damp was lying. Cersei would bang Robert's dead body before that nerd.
Yeah. Which is funny because later I think Cersei talks shit on Lancel too. Which if you're Jaime,
but Lancel also wasn't this nerd before he got fucked up.
I know, but
that's the other side of it. Jaime's like talking about this dude, but this isn't the guy that was here.
I know. Well, I mean, and we know it's true that they were fucking, but I think it's interesting because as Jaime, it's like, okay, now Jaime's having doubts, and later Cersei just straight up starts shitting on him, which I feel like if you're Jaime would almost like confirm your doubts, like, okay, this definitely didn't happen. But again, we know it did. So, yep. So now he's going back to the city.
Streets are pretty empty. A lot of cats are gone. The Tyrell men have split their host. Garland the Gallant is taking Grammy back to Highgarden.
Well, he's going to Brightwater Keep, yeah. But yeah, she's going to Highgarden. He's going to Brightwater Keep. They're heading off in the same direction.
Pretty much all the stuff that we heard about before is coming true, right? Like everybody's getting sent to the Dragonstone, or right?
Yeah, not Tyrell man.
Storm's End.
Storm's End. Yep. Yeah, that's where Mace is heading. Which that was Jaime's kind of like nugget to him, right? Was like go.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's taking Mathis Rowan with him. We didn't hear that before. Again, that's just a Tyrell Lord. You know, I got the names.
And then we got 2,000 Lannister men waiting outside to hop on a red wine ship.
Yep, Paxter Red Wine's fleet. when he comes back.
They're going to Dragonstone.
He's kind of doing Sam's boat trip, but backwards. The Arbor is right next to Old Town, so he has to basically come. I don't have it ready, but the map we looked at last week, he's coming the whole way.
Oh, okay.
Under Dorne
that's a far
and
ass
up
boat.
around.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a lot. It's not a short trip. Exactly.
And then we got a good amount of Westermen that went home to just start building their shit back up and farming. Right. So
yeah, they got to basically they sent off all the soldiers from the Reach, the Tyrell army, like you said, going to Storm's End and back west to southwest, and all the Westermen. Yep. Okay. Autumn's here. Go get one last harvest before winter comes. Go to your wives. War's over. Kind of. Right. It seems like
kind of, or at least on hold. Right. Like we need to supply up right now.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So. Then he gets inside to where a handful of men were practice jousting. Is there a list of them, Nelson? Do you know their names? Or
Talad the Tall, Kenos of Case.
We're missing some. Jaime, for one point, does think this was. I want to talk to you guys about this. So Jaime's thinking, a lance is something else I'd never be able to do. Jousting is never something I'd be able to do. Well, what's jousting?
Poking a shield.
Yeah, but why do you do it? Like, what's the point of doing it in a tournament?
I mean, if you're like a mounted knight. Like charging, if you're the cavalry, you're breaking up their shields in the front of their
in an actual war.
Yeah, I mean that's the practical use of jousting.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. So jousting is a practice for a real battle charge. So Jaime's like, I can never do this again because my shield's on the wrong side. In an actual battle, I don't think it fucking matters what side your shields are. Yes, you can never go against a person again. But throw that thing on and practice against a Quintain. You could definitely do this in a battle, right? Am I wrong about that?
That's one thing. Like, I don't know if you would use your best knights it's kind of
You're
like...
right. You wouldn't be in the front lines.
So, they're probably more practicing for tourney shit. And I would just say this, too. Like, how many people are right-handed over left-handed, right? So,
that's true. Just find a lefty knight.
Well, yeah, but then you gotta...
I feel like all these guys probably train from the right hand.
Period. Yeah, even if you're lefty.
I don't know that there is a lefty knight, yeah.
Back in the day, they didn't have left-handed spoons and stuff.
No time for that shit. Left-handed spoon?
He's also probably just
okay. I'm not that dumb.
He's just not strong enough to hold the lance with his left hand, too, which, he mentions that, the sword's heavy enough, he can't hold the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I guess the other point I was going to say is I think in the first Dunk and Egg book, when it gets to 7-on-7, because it's 7-on-7 that's going to turn into a mini battle, they take out the poles and they kind of ride more head on. I think Dunk says that. So if Jaime's ever in a 7-by-7 trial by combat, he gets pulled in to defend some. Get out there and practice with your left hand, man. It could be useful one day.
Well, here's the thing, Nelson. This is my point here. This is just more him feeling sorry for himself, being a baby. That's all it is. Get over it, dude.
I mean, there's definitely some truth to it, but I agree. Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, he could fucking get out there and do it, not get over it. I mean, I understand losing your hands, traumatic, but at the same time, that is your life now. He could be out there, like you said, doing this. There's options,
especially here because these guys are not tilting against each other. They're tilting against a Quintain, which my understanding is that spinny thing, right, with a sandbag on one side and a shield on the other.
Because they're talking about blowing the shield up and stuff. Yeah, exactly. So it's Talad the Tall. Strongboar is who I missed. Sorry.
Yep.
Kenos of Case, Sir Dermot of the Rainwood, rather. Lambert Turnberry, Beardless John Betley, Humphrey Swift, Alan Stackspear, Red Ronnet Cunnington, and then last of all is Loris, Knight of Flowers.
So Red Ronnet broke his lance.
And he's just the LeBron of jousting.
Yep, he's the LeBron. So Loris, the best highlights. Red Ronnet sounds like he did pretty good too. We've heard of this guy. Kyle?
Yeah, I've definitely remember his name. I can't place him. I'm sorry, man.
Jeff?
I don't know what his name is.
This was Brienne's second suitor, who we don't know exactly how they're.
Is this the guy that she kicked his ass?
Yeah, exactly. We don't know exactly what happened with their betrothal and how that went wrong. I think that's probably yet to be learned. But we know that she beat the shit out of him when Kat shows up to Bitterbridge. And Hyle even.
Isn't that what Hyle said something? Yeah, exactly. Now
2 or 3 chapters.
It's coming back. Yep.
Exactly. So the other three, the Betley, Swift, and Stackspear, they did pretty good too. Turnberry, they don't say how good Rainwood did. I guess everybody does good. Except for Talad the Tall. Talad the Tall sucks. His head gets smacked by the sandbag when he rides by it.
Which just means you weren't riding fast enough, right?
I don't know how that works.
Or you blasted it so hard.
Does it swing around? If you hit the shield, it kind of boom. if you hit it, it swings on a pole, basically, like a tether ball.
Yeah, but the thing that confuses me is the faster you ride, the harder you're gonna hit it. So the faster it's gonna swing, which means you gotta move.
Yeah, but you can still hit it with enough force if you were moving slow. That thing, like you almost gotta ride through it, I think.
Yeah, it's almost like you got to speed up. I don't know. I feel like maybe you got to speed up into it. I'm not a jouster.
It's like making a tackle. You got to go through. You can't just make contact and stop your feet. You got to run through that thing.
Oh, maybe that's the point. Yeah, it makes sure you follow through. So he's hitting and stopping. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, he's not right. Like he's like trying to aim, so like he's slowing down his horse. Like he's not just cruising through. I
see what you're saying. Yeah, that's probably right. And we talked about this more earlier. Is it good to be big or small in a joust? This is Tall the Tall. So maybe it's bad to be big because he has so much momentum. He's hitting the thing and making it swing around faster. It'd be better to just be small, hit it where you want and get out.
Duck under it.
I will say we don't know what the hell we're talking about, but there is I actually did hear an interview. I did one of the other really good Game of Thrones YouTubers. I'm sure most people know who he is if they're listening to us. Is called In Deep Geek. He did an interview with somebody who's like an actual knight. I don't know exactly how this guy makes money off it, but he's a knight. He has horses. He goes around jousts and stuff, and they had like a cool 45-minute interview where he was basically talking to a knight from like a Game of Thrones perspective, like, oh, could you do this? Could you do this? Could you put a jousting thing through the eye hole of a helmet? And he's like, I actually tried that one time, and I got like 2 out of, I forget what he said, but he got like 2 out of 20 or whatever. So it's like not as unrealistic as it sounds. So if actual info is on knights and jousting, go listen to that.
All right. So, and yeah, the biggest part here, I think, is just like Loris is just head and shoulders above the rest.
Which is literally like me if I'm standing next to you guys.
Pretty close.
Just heads and shoulders above the rest. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It means you're standing out in a crowd is what that means, right? So yeah, Loris is standing out here.
Loris is standing out because he's actually good at things. You just stand out because you're tall.
Yeah, Tyler the Tall is technically heads and shoulders above the rest, probably. Moving on.
Tyler the Tall.
Moving on. Jaime leaves the real men to their sport. All right, Cersei and Co. We enter Cersei Solar. Who we got with her? We got Cersei,
Taina,
the King, Mr. Tom and Tom and Baratheon, I guess technically, or not.
Is it Pycelle? Is it
and Pycelle? Pycelle is here because he's delivering the gossip crew some news. Everybody's laughing, and Jaime's like, which is funny because this doesn't seem like something Cersei would be laughing about. But Jaime shows up. Taina's like, "Oh, your brother's here." Cersei's like, "Most of him," which is fucked up. And Cersei's drinking. Jaime even notes, like, damn, this girl always has wine recently. And even in the last Cersei chapter, when she's going to Tommen's wedding, remember she finds like the blood in her.
Started with wine.
She finds the blood in her egg, and she's like, "Fuck that, bring me wine." Exactly. So she's like, she's a drinker.
Not crazy. I probably would do the same thing if I saw that shit.
And the interesting thing about her drinking is Jaime thinks this is something she used to kind of like
motherfuck Robert about.
Not like
oh my gosh, he's just drunk all the time.
Exactly.
Always in his cups.
Yeah.
Heavy as the crown.
Hypocrite. Don't throw stones.
Don't bang your brother.
Yep. Yeah. So they're having a good laugh about Lawless's baby.
Yeah. So Cersei's like, tell him the news. Pycelle seems nervous about it, but he stumbles through it. He's like, "Oh yeah, lady." He's like, "What do you remember?" And Cersei's like, "Do you remember what they wanted to name it?" Like they had the baby. Is what Pycelle says. Cersei's like, "Do you remember what they wanted to name it?" Jaime's like, "Yeah, Tywin." And Cersei's like, "Yeah, but I forbade it because, like we said before, you're Lolly's a little slow and essayed by everybody."
Just you could have just left it a little before
everybody knows what happened.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying you didn't have to. Everybody that's here is already aware of the whole situation.
So Pycelle's basically like, Tanda insists that she didn't pick the name. It must have been Bronn, and Jaime's like, I know.
Because Bronn is now fucking.
Well, this is before they even say the name. Jaime's able to guess the name once he knows that.
I know, but
Bronn.
now he's what's her name? Not Lady Tanda. What's
Lolly's?
Lolly. Yeah, now he's Lolly's husband.
Mm-hmm. He's stepdad. He's stepdad to little Tyrion.
Exactly. That's why he's connected here. I didn't think you said that here.
I don't think not yet.
I forgot that he was now. Yeah, that he was given to them. Right. That was kind of how that works.
Bronn's the second man of Stokesworth. Is that the castle?
That was kind of like a title essentially, is what they paid him with. So anyway, yes. So essentially, they say, "Oh yeah, he named the baby Tyrion."
Yep. And Jaime guesses it. Pycelle confirms. Again, they were laughing when they come in. He
wipes his face with his maunch.
Yeah, with his sleeve. And Taina jokes like, oh, maybe they named him that because the baby resembles Tyrion. Maybe he was born without a nose or deformed or something. So they're just fucking it up. They're like, we should send him a gift. How about that, Tommen? And Tommen's like, oh, we should send him a kitten. Like Tommen being like a nice boy.
Yeah.
And Tina's like, maybe a lion cub. And Cersei's like, I had something else in mind. And Jaime's like, he knew what Cersei had in mind by the look in her eyes. Basically, he's thinking this is the same look she had in the last Cersei chapter when they burned the Tower of the Hand.
The green light of the wildfire had bathed the face of the watchers, so they looked like nothing so much as rotting corpses, a pack of gleeful ghouls, but some of the corpses were prettier than others. Even in the baleful glow, Cersei had been beautiful to look upon. She'd stood with one hand upon her breast, her lips parted, her green eyes shining. She is crying, Jaime had realized, but whether it was from grief or ecstasy, he could not have said. The sight had filled him with disquiet, reminding him of Aerys Targaryen, and the way of burning would arouse him.
So then Jaime gets into some horrible memories from his time serving Aerys. So the end of
pretty
that
much
quote
that was his kink to burn people. Is really what it comes down to.
Aerys is a weirdo, man. Like Kyle, did you know like how weird he got, or was it just like
I think he was collecting locks of hair.
Like,
yeah, for sure. What a weirdo. Gimli style.
The weirdest thing a person could do. Oh man, but just, I mean, before him just like burning people down, like what he becomes after.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, I think that's the first time we hear this too.
Scary, dude. And I've seen pictures. I've seen mocked up pictures of it. He's freaky, dude.
With the pictures with the long nails are.
Yeah. He kind of looked like a troll wizard, like that hasn't eaten.
Well, yeah, because they get into it.
We'll get there in 1 second. So basically, what we're transitioning from Cersei's looking at this fire, and Jaime's like, is she like literally getting turned on the way he did?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a little much. Yeah.
And he thinks like, oh, when Aerys used, like, him and his wife Rhaella didn't really get along the last couple of years of his life, their marriage, his reign. All three are the same thing. They slept apart. They didn't really even see each other. But on days he would burn somebody, she would have a visitor at night. And he remembers the day Aerys burned his mace and dagger hand. It's interesting. Jaime refers to the different hands by like their sigils. The mace and dagger hand is Lord Carlton Chelstead, whose sigil is a mace and dagger. And Jaime thinks after that day, after he burned that guy, Jaime and John Derry were the ones that guard the door of the bedchamber, and they could hear Rhaella crying that you're hurting me. And Jaime thinks that in a weird way that was worse than Lord Chelstead.
Watching the dude boil alive.
The hand, dying. And eventually Jaime
not
was
just
like,
dying, boil alive in his armor, right? Like he burned him.
That was.
I feel like that happens to all. I thought he did it to all of them the same way. Maybe
we just know that we just hear that he burned this guy. That was more. Okay. What you're talking about is more how the Starks died.
I was just saying, yeah. But anyway, burned dude becomes insatiable, turns him on so much that he destroys his wife. Essentially, they say the next morning that she's like covered in scratches and bruises.
I think a really important part of this is Jaime even eventually said to John Derry, he's like, "We're sworn to protect her too." Yeah. He says, but not from him. And at one point in the past, I know Jaime had thought to himself, if it was Jonathan Derry or Barris and Selmy in my situation, Aerys wouldn't have killed Aerys. Like he thinks that at least those two by name would not have done what he did. I think it's interesting because Jonathan here, not that it's right or wrong, right? I think they're in a weird spot. Their vows tell them to do one thing when it's like clearly conflicting.
Yeah,
Jonathan seems a more by the book guy. And
that's what I was gonna say. This seemed kind of like one of those turning points for Jaime a little bit, where he kind of lost some of his humanity, right? Like for sure, where like because it sounded like he was concerned. At least that's the way it presented. But then the older, like more like the knight that was going to put him in his place said, "No, like you're not supposed to be."
One of my favorite Jaime quotes is actually I think in the Cat chapter when she's freeing Jaime, and Jaime's talking about basically what happened to the Starks. And he says that, when I was standing there watching that happen, the death of Brandon and Rickard, he's like, I basically went away. He's like, I started thinking of Cersei in my mind to not be in the present.
I couldn't be there watching that. Yeah.
Which is interesting because he told Tommen something very similar recently. Like, hey, when Tommen would say that, I don't know. Him and Tommen talked about going away,
disassociate when bad stuff is happening. Yeah.
But in that moment, he says when he's talking to Kat, he says, I went away inside, and afterwards, the White Bull, Lord Commander Gerald Hightower, comes up to me. He's like, hey, you were commanded to protect the king, not judge him. Jaime didn't even do anything. It's not like he walked away. I guess the Lord Commander could just tell that he wasn't present, or that he didn't think Jaime didn't quite agree with him. So again, it's just like Jaime is surrounded by these guys who are So, and what Jaime says there is, Gerald told me that I was commanded to protect the king, not judge him. And everyone agrees Gerald Hightower is a better knight than me. Right? Which is like, okay, Gerald stood there by and watched Ned's family die, and then scolded me afterwards for. It's not that like I spoke out against it or just for judging, for believing that it was wrong. Right? It's kind of like
I think that's kind of been a theme too, right? Is
100%.
like Sir Hyle just 2 chapters ago was, the farmer was like, oh man, what a great knight that guy was. Like, he's a true knight type of thing. And then like you don't know kind of behind the scenes, and then at the end of this chapter you get the list of all the heroes of the great knights, but like then you got their fucking backstories where they're all a little bad too, or maybe they're really bad, but you just haven't heard that side.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a theme throughout the books, and I think especially for Jaime, it's a main one for him that like everyone thinks of Jaime as the most dishonorable knight, when really like once we start seeing this, like, and then you think about stuff like this and him burning the Starks, like and then the day comes that he actually comes to kill Aerys, and when Aerys says like, maybe if none of that other shit had happened, and Aerys said, burn them all, go kill your dad. You know what I mean? Maybe Jaime does it if he thinks that the king is actually a good king. But it's just like Jaime's been through months of the king being crazy, doing absolutely like
this guy.
Horrible shit that like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just.
And then he had his one window.
And I think part of the reason we get this here is because it seems like it's unclear. It seems like Cersei doesn't know what he told Brienne, that like what his ultimatum was. That like Cersei, that literally Aerys is trying to burn everybody down, like gonna burn the entire city. Jaime thinks about some of the quotes here, like let him be king of the ashes. Right? He doesn't realize, like, it seems like Cersei doesn't even know that, but we'll get to that in a second. So Jeff, kind of the quote that you're talking about for how the Mad King goes a little bit crazy. I guess to finish that
Crazier.
off, Jaime had never seen the Queen again, but he had heard rumors because she had left to basically go to Dragonstone after that, and he had heard rumors that she did not look good. He crashes, bite marks.
Yeah, Rhaella got banged up, and they had to send. Did they send her out? Like, was she so like?
I'm guessing she asked her. She was like, I want to go and spend the rest of my time at Dragonstone. We kind of hear that's a thing that happens with Targaryens in the past, like when the husbands and wives kind of have a falling out.
So that this isn't the first time that one of these dudes.
Well, in the past, there was a succession crisis. The wife wanted the firstborn daughter to be the heir. Okay. The husband's like, no, it's the firstborn son. Doesn't matter if the daughter's older, and they didn't come to an agreement. The king had the final say.
I mean, we just heard about that, right? That was.
I don't know if we've actually heard.
Wasn't that what's her name told? Who's with
It's similar situation, but not the same one.
I thought she just talked about that same thing though, because that was like her whole thing. That I can't think of any of these people's names right now. That
you're talking about the Martell girl, Arianne Martell, who was with Aerys Oakheart.
Yes, yeah, exactly, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Is her, and I just don't.
And that that's important because we'll get to that later. In that situation, the king wanted his daughter to be heir, and after the king died, the Kingsguard chose the son instead. But the whole point there was when the king and the queen disagreed before, like really disagreed over a big topic, the queen's like, all right, fuck it, I'm spending the rest of my time at Dragonstone, and just basically left there. It's like we're sleep. It's kind of like the Targaryen way of we're really sleeping apart.
They're separated, not divorced.
Yes, exactly. Keeping the family together. All right, Jeff, you reading the quote for me?
By the end, the Mad King had become so fearful that he would allow no blade in his presence, save for the swords his Kingsguard wore. His beard was matted and unwashed, his hair a silver gold tangle that reached his waist, his fingernails cracked yellow claws 9 inches long, yet still the blades tormented him, the ones he could never escape, the blades of the Iron Throne. His arms and legs were always covered with scabs and half-healed cuts. Let him be king over charred bones and cooked meat, Jaime remembered, studying his sister's smile. Let him be the king of ashes.
So Jaime is literally the whole reason we got this whole excerpt about Aerys is because Cersei's staring at this fire in such a crazy way.
Well, and she's kind of going crazy too, right? Like she's saying weird shit to him. She's being like, she's surrounding herself with like the wrong people.
I mean, at one point, Jaime's like, you need a strong hand. She's like, strong hands are for weak rulers like Aerys. Aerys needed father. I need a pyromancer. It's like, yo, guess who had a fucking pyromancer?
That's what I'm saying. Hand. Like she's saying some unhinged crazy shit to him right now. And he's like, wow, she's definitely kind of taking the plunge off the deep end here.
Not even unhinged. I think I think it's a definite intention. Like this one seems very open-handed. Cersei Ares parallel, but even later with like she wants to name a pyromancer as her hand, like that is an Ares parallel, right? Like, and we don't know who's gonna be hand next year. Like we don't know who's gonna be hand, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I mean Cersei, even just like the looking at the fire and just like getting off to it, like that's got to bring back that, like right there. It's like, oh God, what have we done?
Well, that's why I wanted you to read that last line, because after we talk about how Ares doesn't have blades near him, the last line there, which is actually the first line of the next paragraph, was "Let him be king over charred bone and cooked meat," which is seemingly, I don't know if we ever got this quote, but it's seemingly what Ares was saying when he's like, burn them all, right? Basically saying like, okay, Robert's going to take this shit, let him be king over ashes. We're going to burn it all. But the quote is, "Let him be king over charred bones and cooked meat." Jaime remembered, studying his sister's smile, "Let him be king of the ashes." So like Cersei's smile, when she's talking about...
he's definitely getting mental images of her.
Yeah, and she's talking about going to kill Bronn or whatever. And her smile that she's giving off when, like, oh, it's like, you know what always scared the fuck out of me as a kid? The Grinch. You know, in the Grinch when he's like,
yeah, when the smiles.
What's his super? Well, I forget. He's like, he had an idea, a super malicious idea, a super least evil.
I don't think it's malicious or anything like that. It's just like,
but his smile just curls so much.
Yeah, dude,
that creeped me the fuck out when I was a kid. That's kind of what I'm seeing Cersei's doing.
The Grinch was the man. Like, even like Jim Carrey's, like when he did it.
Oh yeah,
dude, how did he do his? Like,
he's a cartoon character.
If you can see him do it without the makeup on too, like his face actually does it, which is
he's a cartoon
wild.
Character. Yeah, he's crazy.
I don't remember either. I mean, I vaguely remember the cartoon one. I don't remember Jim Carrey's. I'll have to check him out.
Yeah, we'll send it in here.
Yeah. So that he's like, all right, everybody else out. Cersei, me and you, 1-on-1. And Tommen, he's going to get lessons. At least Tommen's getting coached up. We know Cersei knows a little bit of history. She dropped a plum history last time. Here, Tommen's excited. He's going to go learn about Baelor. Awesome. Baelor
the Blessed, to be exact, because there's probably 9 Baelors that you have to
There's actually only one.
I don't believe that.
Baelor the Blessed. He's the only one I remember.
Baelor the Blessed, and then there's Baelor Breakspear, but he didn't become king. He was only handed the king. That's the guy who dies in the first Dunk and Egg book, fighting for Dunk.
That's
the awesome one.
I do remember that.
Yeah. So there's more Baelors, but not more Baelors that were king. And Taina's like, should I come back for dinner? And Cersei's like, I'll be pissed if you don't. And Jaime's like, well, that's weird. What kind of
company?
Exactly. What kind of company are you keeping recently? Like, you got the Kettle Blast, you got Qyburn. Now you got Tina. Like, what's going on?
Is it Tina or Taina?
Taina. I'm sure I'll use both.
Taina?
You've been saying Taina or something, so I just been copying you. So
yeah, but that was when I was 2 beers deep. We're 3 beers deep now, so it changed.
Tina.
I was gonna say, so if I get it wrong, I just been copying Nelson, so blame him.
George has said you can say whatever you want, and for me, it changes.
Kavan.
This is where Cersei just thinks she's 8 steps ahead of the game.
She might be. We don't know. A lot of this is interesting, and I don't want to spoil Kyle too much, but like a lot of this, Jeff and I don't know full answers on. Right, like obviously we have more chapters with these characters, so we might have more insight than Kyle does. But there's a lot of stuff here we're getting. Like
I'm even talking just from I'm reading this basically like I would say I'm on my 1.5 read through. So like just like Jaime's point of view on her, she's like, "Are you sure? Like you're kind of swimming with the big fish right now, Cersei. Like this is a little different of a game. Like you were in AAA, now you're in the majors playing ball."
Yeah, and I think it's a weird situation, and I think for the most part, I don't want to tell you. I think we shouldn't tell you when it's things that we don't like. For this one, I'll tell you, we don't know really what Taina's up to, right? I think the big question is she, like Cersei's basically like, oh, she's spying. Jaime's like, she's spying for Marjorie on you. Cersei's like, no, that's what Marjorie thinks. Really, she's spying on Marjorie.
I'm feeding her the correct things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the question is, which is true? The answer is we don't know. I'm not going to tell you what I think because I think I have more insight than you do. But this is one that we still don't know at the moment, right? Like
I don't know if I want to know. We don't know if that's fair. Can I say that going forward? No. And I think you're fine on this one. I think it's more fun in the spirit for me to not know that.
To think about
it's easier
what we
for
think
me to
about,
kind of and just kind of to formulate around that rather than just kind of this whole like, oh, it's completely out in the open. Nobody knows. I don't know. To me, that seems better to not have any idea of that. I mean, she's definitely Taina. That is seems like she came out of nowhere, and like, how do you trust her? Is all I have to say. So
she's pretty close, pretty soon, right?
Yes, yeah.
So Jaime's like, yo, she's a Tyrell Bannerman. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you doing? And she's like, listen, you fool. She's working for me, working for Marjorie. I got this whole thing worked out. Of course she's feeding info on me. She's feeding what I want her to feed.
I'm playing her. I'm double crossing the most. Yeah. Like, all right, Cersei, we know you're an idiot already.
And her whole belief is Taina wants she has a son, she wants what's best for her son, and Cersei thinks that she can basically set her up more than Marjorie. I can help your son out more than Marjorie can.
Exactly. She's like, she just wants money and I got more of it, essentially, or connections and I have more of them.
Which one of the things is like Cersei does seem to like immediately be favoring her, right? So they don't get it to it right away, but when they get into the hand talk, Jaime's like, or I don't know if is it hand, like who's going to be hand? He's like, oh, maybe Taina's husband.
Maybe her husband, yeah, it gets in the hand talk.
He lost a lot of his, because his...
Well, Cersei brings him up.
Yeah, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, because his grandfather was a hand to Aerys. And Jaime's like, yeah, but he got exiled. Again, I don't know exactly what happened. I think this was around war.
We're getting there. We'll get there soon. Let's just So Taina's working for her. She's like, you wouldn't believe what I'm learning about Maid Marjorie right now. And I think the only thing she really gives up is that Olenna rides with shaved gold.
Yeah, she has a chest of old gold from before the conquest.
It's old gold.
Half the weight of normal gold.
Is this the same gold that they found in that guy's
jail
under
cell?
The stone in the jail cell?
Yes, the hand they found in the jail cell was from the Tyrell era. It was Gardener gold. It was stamped with the hand of the Gardeners who were the High Lords before Aegon came.
That's pretty interesting, right? Like,
it's interesting that you put that together. A question I have, I honestly don't remember. Does Cersei put this together? I'm sure this is something I will know. I just don't actually remember it. I'm sure this is something we'll find out within the books.
At the wrong guy.
I guess the question is, would Cersei tell Jaime about this? Like, I don't think she's told Jaime that she found a secret hand, so it's not something Jaime could puzzle out on his own.
Who's the one that lifted the pot up and found it? I thought that
Qyburn.
And he reported it to Cersei?
Yeah, Jaime said we didn't find anything. Qyburn's like, well, I looked a little bit closer, and here's what I found. Yeah.
But Jaime wasn't there for that. I looked a little bit closer.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think I had even suggested, could Qyburn have planted this? Yeah. It would be a hard thing to obtain, but like, if Jaime searched and didn't find it, could Qyburn have planted it?
Maybe. Then was Qyburn paid by this lady?
Again, there's no hint in this.
Now you're jumping down some rabbit holes.
Because I mean, the other option is she paid the guards, but like Jaime was in on that. So I don't know. That still seems kind of like a red herring to me. So I'm gonna go back to that.
Well, again, we know, right? Like, we know what happened. Like,
yeah, Jaime was in on it. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
No. I mean, we know what. Like, the whole thing that Cersei's suspecting the gold coin for, I think, is involvement with Joffrey's murder, right? But we know theoretically, like, we have Littlefinger over here taking credit for that. So
yeah,
like,
that's what I'm saying. That's kind of what I'm saying. It's a red herring, right?
Seem like there's any Tyrell gold involved in that. So what is going on with this coin in the prisons? What's going on? Like,
it's a red herring. That's
the story,
saying, which is like a false lead.
So you're saying Marjorie gave the coin to Qyburn to plant?
No. I'm just saying in the book, George wrote it in as a red herring. It's just kind of like a false lead. It was like a false.
Somebody had to be behind parts of this, though.
No, we just said this thing seemed like it was under the floorboard from that era, so it doesn't seem that strange that it was.
Well, that's possible. I think I think there's a few possibilities, and again, we don't know which one, but
it just fell down there, or somebody has a stash down there, and they forgot one gold coin from years and years and years ago.
Possible.
Like, I mean, is that crazy?
I don't know. I bet you if you lift up your couch cushion, there's a quarter there. I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are we talking about?
A gold dragon is like $500 though. There's not a Bitcoin in my couch. A gold dragon is a lot of money. Well, and I guess a gold hand's half the amount of money, but inflation for 300 years.
But I mean, the biggest thing is Olenna's throwing around these hands like they're dragons, and she's paying 50% off. She's a cheapskate.
That's what Cersei says. Is I basically learned that Olenna's cheaping everybody out. But again, it's not clear if she put the connection together. I'm assuming she did. Like Cersei, Jaime says it at one point. He's like, she's not stupid. She has horrible judgment, I think is what he said. She has wit. She has horrible judgment.
Yeah. And this is kind of Cersei's, like, why she can trust Taina. She's like, because she has a young son, and mothers will do anything to prop up their boys or their children. So she's playing the mom card.
I mean, that's what she would do, right? Like, I mean, she would do some terrible things and play her friends and stuff for sure.
Exactly. Cersei is projecting.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I have to say.
time to talk about what we got. Who's going to be in charge of the realm? We
Uncle noticed you weren't there today. Yeah, exactly. He said, he noticed you weren't there. She's like, what do I fucking care? He's like, well, he's kind of useful, right? Like you could put him back to the Rock, River Run. Like, guy. I mean, he's not an idiot.
At least send him up north. Stannis is there. And she's like, Roose is our warden of the north. And he's like, Jamie's like, Roose is stuck in the south because of Mokalan.
Cross the toll. He can't even pay the toll at the neck right now. The Ironborn got him locked down.
They think he's about to break through, right?
Yeah, Cersei says not for long.
The bastard's coming down from the top is what I guess is implied.
Yeah. He's going to take care of it, and then not only will Roose be going back north, but he's got 2,000 Freys with him. You just have to hate this. This army is the most... Because this is just like the people responsible for the Red Wedding, right? They're just like walking around.
Sure. They're awful.
They don't belong in the north.
They might get smoked by some giants and shit, though, soon.
Oh, yeah, right? Hopefully. Yeah.
They could get laced here, so it could be all right.
Yep.
And then she also trusted that her cousins in the West are going to do. They're like, we got people, man. And Jamie's like, trust.
The other thing is, we were kind of talking. Yeah, we were kind of talking, or at least I was kind of talking shit on these guys, Devin and Damien earlier. We don't know these guys. They might be competent.
They're the number fours, though.
They might be great.
And even Jamie is like,
they weren't there with Tywin, man. Kevin has been there every step of the way. To say anybody is more competent than him is a leap.
Well, that depends if you think Tywin's that good of a guy. Like,
that's what I'm saying, though. So in their perspective, Tywin is number one, right? Like Jamie and Cersei, Tywin's number one. If you try and argue that, like that's the podcast ends if you try and argue that. Anyway, Tywin's number one.
Cersei. Maybe Jamie at times disagreed with him, but Cersei's reading his journal to get his fucking insight.
I think the way they think of him is like, this dude is fucking living legend, or
well, it doesn't matter what you think of him, right? My point is the roster in these day and age goes by age, right? Like oldest son, second oldest son, third oldest son. It's the hereditary order, right? So there's nothing saying these guys aren't super competent. They're just lower on the list, right? Like, it's not a quality base.
All I'm saying is that Kevin has all this on the field experience from being literally in a ton of meetings with Tywin and shit. Like, he was involved every step of the way. So
can't make up for reps.
This dude is super important. Yes, exactly. I think to overlook him is a big mistake, and I think Jamie even understands that. Obviously, right? I don't think that he obviously does.
Yeah.
So that's all.
So then we get into, okay, well, who's going to be Hand? You still need a Hand. And she's like, well, maybe Taina's husband. She's like, his grandfather was Hand to Aerys. And Jamie's like, yeah, do you remember what happened there? He got exiled because he did such a bad job. Like, he was nice, but ineffective. And Jamie's like, yeah, but Robert brought him back and gave him a little bit of his lands back. And Taina would be pretty happy if he got the rest. And Jamie's like, what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to please your Mirish whore friend? Or are we trying to govern the realm? And Cersei's like, I fucking govern the realm.
I'm in charge.
I am the Senate.
I am the Senate.
There it is.
And Jamie thinks to himself, he doesn't say it, he thinks to himself, 7 save us all, you do. 7 save us all, you do. His sister liked to think of herself as Lord Tywin with teats, but she was wrong. Their father had been as relentless and implacable as a glacier, where Cersei was all wildfire, especially when thwarted. She had been giddy as a maiden when she learned that Stannis had abandoned Dragonstone, certain that he had finally given up the fight and sailed away to exile. When word came down from the north that he had turned up again at the wall, her fury had been fearful to behold. She does not lack for wits, but she has no judgment and no patience.
You need a strong hand to help you.
A weak ruler needs a strong hand. As Aerys needed father, a strong ruler requires only a diligent servant to carry out his orders. She swirled her wine. Lord Helene might suit. He would not be the first pyromancer to serve as the king's hand. Oh, that's right, ending.
Well, then he says to himself, no,
I killed the last one.
Yeah, exactly. He said, I fucking killed the last one. Here we go again.
I feel like part of the reason Feast of Crows is a little bit maybe dull for even all of us, including Kyle, in some parts, is I feel like most people on a first read would not remember that Jaime killed the last pyromancer hand. But like
he literally says it.
I know. I'm saying that's why this line's here. Did you need that line? There's lines here because the books are so dense. There's lines here to make first readers remember things that I think even you, because we're going through so
for sure
diligently.
Yeah, I don't remember this, dude. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I thought you did. Never mind. My point's mute then. I'm wrong. Moving on.
I need that stuff, man. I'm sorry. Like, it's
okay. That's all right. Well, I think a lot. Like, I definitely don't need that. I'm like, obviously you did, Jamie. Who else would have killed it? Like, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember who the last pyromancer hand.
Yeah, I mean,
is.
we only did probably 3 or 4 times, but
yeah, he died on.
Well, literally, the last thing she says before that is he would not be the first one to serve his hand, and like, I wouldn't be immediately like, oh yeah, that's right, the last one died, and oh my god, it was Jaime that killed him. I wouldn't have put that together.
I think Jaime said it in his story to Brienne, like, I just sliced that guy down because he was going to set the match on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Aerys told, like, Jaime killed him right before he went to kill Aerys because he was going to do what?
Blow up the city. Burn the city. Wildfire.
Which is exactly...
Dragons?
With Wildfire.
Which she used on the tower, exactly, yeah.
Which is, I think, again, part of this parallel.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, so... A little bit more hand talk, right? Or do we go into kind of like some of the other council?
Yeah, so we're here. Jaime somehow knows or has heard some rumors of who might get named to some certain spots. Someone's leaking info. She says that he doesn't give her an answer, but yeah. First one is Arain Waters is gonna be master of ships.
Young boy, young 22-year-old, doesn't know shit. We got better people around, more qualified. But
how about Paxter Redwine, the guy who's literally bringing the fleet around the country right now to help us? She's like, no, I will not have a Tyrell man on my council. Plus, Arain is strong and vigorous, and Jaime's like, and handsome. And he thinks about the Cersei fucking everybody line.
Moon boy. And then it's not your council, it's Tommen's council, is pretty much what he says. Like, lady, get a grip, you're not queen. Tommen is technically in charge here.
Well, she's like, you know what I mean, and he's like, yeah. I do. Unfortunately, that like it's not Tom. You basically mean it's not Tommen's council.
Yeah.
And he's in. So here again, I think there's some subtext here. He says Arain's a bad idea. Arain Waters, however we're gonna say that. He's a bad idea. I like that. Helene is a worse one. That's a pyromancer. And Qyburn, gods be good, Cersei. Hero with Vargo hurt. The Citadel stripped his chain. We didn't talk about Cersei, but again, this seems like potentially like
Qyburn.
What do you mean?
You said Cersei. We didn't talk about Cersei.
Oh, we didn't talk about Qyburn. Sorry.
Yeah,
so,
you're right.
Like, is this more info? Like, what spots he getting on the council? That seems what this is implying to me. Is that Jaime's heard that these people are all getting seats on the council. Well, Helene maybe not, but Helene is a potential.
Is Qyburn going to take Pycelle's position?
I mean, Cersei doesn't seem to be liking Pycelle right now, so maybe. But he's not technically a maester, so.
And on their side, though, right?
I don't. But she's the fucking queen, Nelson.
And what she says is the gray sheep, which we've heard Qyburn say this 2 or 3 times now. Basically talking about all the other maesters. Like they're the flock. They just do whatever the maesters do.
He's not. What he's trying to say is like, I'm not quite a black sheep, right? I'm the gray sheep.
No.
So
he calls the maesters like the gray sheep, as in like they all just like
really
go.
They just herd around each other.
Yeah, exactly. They all say the same shit.
I thought he was saying he was a gray sheep. Okay.
A dog barks and they go in another direction.
Exactly. Like they're afraid to stray from the pack where he's not. It's just funny because I think Qyburn said that 2 or 3 times when he's talking about things that him and the maesters disagree on. I think he also said he got that from Marwyn, like the gray sheep. The Marwyn called them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Marwyn called them.
Marwyn just stays a little closer to the pack since he's still there.
Well, we knew Marwyn and Qyburn were a little. Yeah, well, we knew they were.
Marwyn's still there, is what I'm saying. Like, so he didn't get.
That's true.
He wasn't cutting open live bodies, I guess.
Not quite as fucked up as Qyburn.
Yeah. So, no red wine. And no Qyburn, and he's like, yo, me and Kevin aren't against you here. Like, you need to keep some of us close, man. We're family. We're blood.
Yeah.
She's like, again, fuck you.
I think here's the main problem with Cersei, is like, if you're not doing exactly what she's telling you to do, she thinks you're her enemy.
Yeah, you're out. Like, and you're out. She doesn't hesitate too often.
I work in an office, right? There's people I disagree with daily. We'll go into a meeting, we'll disagree, and we'll come to a compromise where neither of us is 100% happy. But that's probably the best solution, right? My idea, if we would have gone with mine 100%, wasn't great. His 100% wasn't great. But the compromise we made, 90% of the time, this is how it works. There's some sort of compromise somewhere in the middle.
I mean, that's why you hire different people.
Exactly. For sure. You need people around with dissenting opinions, or at least opposing opinions. It generates better ideas because, like you said, you have a more well-rounded kind of environment.
The first job I got hired at, the guy told me, don't be a yes guy. Like, I need you to bring ideas or conflictions, or whatever.
So, yeah. And that's kind of what, again, we don't know a lot of these people enough to know that's exactly what's happening. But that's it's seemingly what's going on, right? And that's like Paxter Redwine. That's what Jaime's saying. Make him Lord Admiral. He's the guy with the fleet. He spent the most time on ships. Like he has the fleet. Kevin, yeah, like you might not agree. Well, I get why you can't name Kevin. Kevin did give her a hard ultimatum. Like, I'm only going to be your hand if you fuck off.
Which he doesn't know yet, right? Like, obviously, because
I don't know if Jaime knows the full details of it.
Go ask her about it. I'm pretty sure. I mean, just from Kevin being like, go ask her
That's
about
fair.
it.
Well, he said she knows my ultimate. Yeah, she knows what I told her. You talked to her. But, I mean, he might already talk to her about it. I don't know. Yeah. That could have just been a way of him saying, like, I know you two fuck. At the end of his sentence, right?
Yeah. Well, it all boils down to Cersei being like, look, I tried to ask you to help me, and you picked your stupid vows that you already broke over me, the one that you're supposed to love, and you could have had me and everything. We could have been together, yada, yada, yada. Fuck you, wine in the face.
Hold on. I think that's important there. She says, she's like, you refused me. He's like, my vows, and she cuts him off, said, didn't stop you from slaying Ares. Words are wind. You could have had me, but you chose a cloak instead. Get out. This line makes me think that Cersei probably doesn't know as much as like Brienne does about the Ares situation. Or I mean, maybe not, because would she care? Like, no. I don't know. So yeah, maybe she's just being manipulative. It's hard to tell.
Think she's talking about now or way back when? I guess when he first got the cloak.
What do you mean?
Well, she's like, you chose the cloak. Does she mean like right now you're choosing the cloak over me?
She must be, because she was the reason he got the cloak in the first place, pretty much.
That's kind of okay. Yeah, she talked him into it.
She convinced Ares to be the one. She basically, it's not confirmed, but she was like, I can make sure you make it happen. Yeah. And then when it happened, it seemed like it happened because Ares wanted to spite Tywin. So if you connect those two pieces, Cersei at some point whispered to Ares like, "Hey, this would really piss Tywin off. It would be funny. Do it." So that's probably what happened. That's what most people, I think, assume. Yeah, she tried to throw her wine at him, misses.
She did. She just didn't hit.
Yeah, she did throw. Yeah, she just misses.
Because she's probably drunk, right?
Yeah, she's hammered by now. Jaime goes back to White Sword Tower. I guess this is evening now. We skip forward some time.
Yeah, we get this last part. I know there's a big ass list, but this last part.
To be fair, most of these lists we don't know. Their first time mentions. But
all right, so Loras shows up with him, right? He's drinking wine, or
he's there. Loras shows up, maybe like just finished his shift.
Yeah, he said something about a Dornish Red followed him, right? With a cup of Dornish Red and the white book. Yeah, so he's turning the book, looking through the book. Loras shows up. And he's already kind of acting a little arrogant, right? Jaime's like, I saw you. You did pretty well. And he's like, better than well, you fucking clown.
Yeah. And Jaime's like, a nicer man might have said that my lord is too kind, or the horse was really good. And Loras like, the horse was okay, and my lord is as kind as I am modest. Like, let's be honest here. I'm a badass.
Yeah.
Loras waves off the book. He's like, Renly always said books were for maesters. The guy always liked the pictures. The guy always liked the
what a noodle.
Well, no, he's like, I always like the picture books. Some of the books Renly had, man, you should have seen the pictures of those puppies. Well, they would have made a septum blind.
Which meant he was going more so like this was like the Kama Sutra type shit, right?
Yeah,
like,
pornographic, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And Jaime's like, well, so those might have turned to septum blind, but this book right here, it has the histories. It'll open your eyes, so it'll do the opposite. It'll make you realize things. You should know this.
Yeah, this is definitely important stuff for us.
He's like, I know some of the names. I know Aemon the Dragon Knight, Ryan Redwine, the Great Heart, Barristan Selmy. So 3 of these we've heard Great Heart first time mentioned. Ryan Redwine, we hear he was a really good Kingsguard, horrible hand. He got named hand and he was a bad hand.
How was he related to Paxter?
He's old. This guy's actually in House of the Dragon, so very old.
Okay, because the way he mentions him here, it sounds like he's with these kind of current guys to be, at least. I mean, I guess Aemon and stuff aren't, but knowing Barristan isn't really saying that much.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I know this dude. I know the Kettle Black guy.
Yeah, but Loras was never here with him. Barristan was sent off, and then like a couple months went by, and Loras showed up. So like Loras might have never actually met Barristan. So I understand what you're saying, and I thought about that. That's why I had that.
Yeah,
ready. Fair enough. But Jaime's like, okay, a few others, Gwaine Corbray, Alan Connaughton, Demon of Derry. I don't think we've really heard much about any of these guys either. And he's like, you probably know Lucamore Strong. Again, I want to get your guys' thoughts on this whole set.
We've heard some of these names now.
Is Lucamore Strong the one with a whole bunch of wives and kids or something?
Yeah, 3 wives and 30 kids.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
So I want to get your guys' take on this. I don't quite understand the point of this whole last section.
To be honest, I don't even understand, and I know the last guy. I don't even know why, like, that was like it seemed like it was like a mic drop moment, and I'm just like, what the fuck are we talking about here?
The last guy is very different in the books and the show, which is one thing. I think you're getting confused, Jeff.
Well, but I'm not even trying to like really think about it because he's only been mentioned once in the books, right?
So I'm confused as fuck too. I agree with you that even if you're thinking from the book perspective, I think it's confusing, which is why I wanted to ask you. I think what I got out of this is he's saying the people you remember are famous, whether for good reason or bad reason. The people you don't remember are the ones who just shut the fuck up and did their job well, and that's why you don't know them. Because they didn't do anything stupid, they didn't do anything crazy, they just protected their king for like 60 years, and their king lived for 60 years, right? Like, I think that is kind of Jaime's point. But again, to Jeff's point, I don't understand really how that ties in with the last guy. So I don't quite know if that's the point. But I think that's kind of what he's getting at here. At least at this beginning, where he's like, okay, you know all these guys, the famous ones. Like Luke More Strong, right? He's like, yeah, the guy who had all the wives. He's like, you probably know Terrence Toyne too. Right, and he's like, yeah, bedded his king's mistress and died screaming. The lesson is men who wear white breeches.
Which we heard about last time too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so Terrence Toyne again and Aemon the Dragonite are like kind of related. We don't know 100% why. I went into a lot of that history in that Arianne, I guess it was Arianne and Aerys Oakheart sex scene, the Aerys chapter. What is it, the Soiled Knight? In that one is where we talked a lot about these guys. I told you they'd be mentioned a few times in the near future. This is one of them. We don't hear too much. We won't go into it again. But yeah, so Jaime's kind of going through some of these really famous knights. He's okay, what about Giles Greycloak and Orville the Open-Handed? Again, first time mentions for these two guys. And Loras is like, yeah, that one was a traitor, the other one was a coward. What are you trying to say? And Jaime's like, that's not my point here. And he's like, what about Long Tom Castaigne? He's like, no. He's like, well, he was a Kingsguard for 60 years. What about Donald of Duskendale? And he's like, I might know the name, but... And Jaime rattles off Addison Hill, the White Owl, Michael Mertens, Joffrey Norcross. They called him Never Yield, Red Robert Flowers. What can you tell me of them? He's like, well, Flowers and Hill, those are bastard names. He's like, but they were both commander of the Kingsguard. These bastards rose to command them, and you don't know who they are.
Yeah, they're in here.
Yep.
Roland Darkland is here too. He was the youngest Kingsguard until I came along.
Interesting thing about him is we did hear that there was, right, I think the inn that Brienne goes to in Duskendale is called the Seven Swords because there were 7 Duskendales or Darklands throughout history who served as knights of the Kingsguard. So this guy was one of them, right?
Yeah, I do remember you saying that. There was
not all at the same time,
but yeah, it was spread across time. Exactly. Yeah, I remember having that conversation. I asked that question. Yeah. Youngest man ever.
He died.
Given his cloak, and then he died. Yeah, an hour afterwards, pretty much.
He must have did something pretty cool.
Well, that's not what I agree with you, Jeff, but that's not what Loras says.
Well, Loras says, oh, well, what a fucking bitch, right?
But, I mean, Loras just didn't know the details, right? But, like, I'm assuming...
to jump right to, like, what a pussy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm assuming he, like, full dove in front of a spear to save the king, right? And, like, got gut-shotted by a spear, and they're like, all right, like, that was dope, but, like, you're dying.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He was probably knighted on the battlefield out of necessity. And then did some honorable stuff, it sounds like. Yeah.
He's like, he can't have been very good, is what Laura says. And Jaime's like, well, he's good enough. The king lived. Right? That's the important part.
That's your duty.
A lot of brave men have worn the white cloak, and a lot of them have forgotten, which, again, is the whole point here is you should read this book and know who came before you, because there's a lot of good shit in here that you've never heard of before. And Laura says that most of them deserve to be forgotten. The heroes will always be remembered. And I think, again, maybe this is where it ties into... Yes, the heroes are remembered, but also the villains.
100%, because he said the best and the worst.
Maybe I'm explaining this more to myself as I just speak it out loud, is Jaime's thinking that I'm going to be remembered. Me, Jaime, I'm the Kingslayer, right? Even though I want to be a good... Now I'm doing everything I can to be a good Kingsguard. Like these guys I'm telling you about that you'll never hear of. Even though I'm trying to do everything I can to be like those guys, I'm going to end up being remembered like this last guy, Kristen Cole.
I think that's what he's actually trying to say here, Nelson. So Laura says the best are remembered. Jaime says the best and the worst. So one of us is like to live on in song. So like either Loras can continue to be the best, right? Like that's kind of what he's saying, I think.
Yep, exactly.
Or
that Jaime's not going to be.
Jaime's already the worst, right? Like he's the first one that killed the king.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Is if Loras does that and Jaime can do good as well, right? He could potentially become like this dude in the middle here, is what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
And people remember him because he has this cool name too, right? Like this guy obviously meant something if he has a nickname. That's my opinion, at least. So like he is a remembered one, or should be a remembered one.
Yeah, that's fair. A lot of these guys did have nicknames that Jaime rattles through here. Not the ones that are remembered necessarily, but a lot of the famous ones. The Dragon Knight, the Great.
I know, that's what I'm saying. The
Heart.
ones that aren't remembered halfway. Although there's the White Owl, Red Robert. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking shit.
I was just getting like a history repeats itself vibe. Like, which one are you gonna be, Loris? Like, I'm looking at you, and I got all these examples. Like, that was kind of the vibe I was trying to get. Again, I don't know any of these guys other than the ones that were just mentioned in the ASOIAF chapter, but yeah, it didn't mean much to me.
Well, I
think that's a fair way to look at it, is like a pick your future. Go ahead, Nelson.
Well, yeah, and I think and again, I'm trying to read into this last guy, Criston Cole, right? What we know about him, what we've only heard him, I think, one time in that ASOIAF chapter, and basically the king had named his daughter to be heir, but when that happened, Criston Cole, the Kingsguard, decided, hey, that we didn't know exactly why. There was like 3 reasons. The son was more tractable. He thought he would have better access to power, or he was just straight up sexist. It's not, I'm sure, not what Ares was saying. He was just more traditional, I guess, and thinking that the man should come next. But for whatever reason, Criston Cole, one of the Kingsguard, basically did a lot of work to make sure that the daughter didn't become king, but the son did. And Jaime's saying this guy is a bit of both. He's not a bad guy. Some best and some worse, and a bit of both, like this guy, which I think maybe to your point, Kyle, is people who did horrible things can still redeem themselves. Yeah.
Yes, that's kind of what I meant. And still be remembered, and not, you don't have to remain the worst, is more of what I was getting at with that statement. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Cool.
All right, Kyle, thoughts on Jaime's weird fucking book reading? And
like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of Jaime. I don't know, man. It was a little bit of history lesson for sure, a little bit of insight into what's going on, but what do I think? Obviously, I think Tyene is up to some stuff. I don't trust her at all. She seems like she moved in too fast. I think Cersei is kind of overplaying her hand with her for sure. That seems like Cersei predictions though for Jaime. What do I think next for Jaime? I don't know. I don't even know what could really come next. I think more boring stuff probably. He's just gonna be hanging out here.
Well, have you looked at the next chapter?
The next chapter is Cersei. Yeah.
So we won't be too far, maybe, from this storyline type shit. I have no idea.
Well, like I said, I did make a Cersei prediction then. Okay, fair enough. All right, we'll leave it there.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll see Kyle in the next one for Cersei 4. And normally I don't try and influence Kyle, but I will say this is a fan favorite.
I'll be the judge of that when I read it.
Jeff is gonna hate it, but Kyle, try and remember it's a fan favorite and read it with that in mind. I think it'll make you like it a little better.
It's got to be a 36-pager.
Is it long?
It's long. It is long. I mean,
if I pay attention, again, it is my second read through. Like, usually, I do pick up on some things this time.
Yeah,
so
I think you might like it more, but
it.
it's long. So that not normally that just puts you off in a bad mood.
I might just have to break it up into multiple reads.
All right, well, we'll see Kyle in the next one for Cersei 4. See the rest of you guys in the spoiler section. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Bye, Kyle. Thanks for hanging out with us. See you on the next one.
Now, on the spoiler section for Jaime 2. Jeff, what we got?
I mean, I'm coming in hot with it's not really a spoiler, but it might just be kind of the mindset that Jaime's taking going forward. It's when he's in the, he's kind of like riding up the column and he's passing all the Lannister men. And it was just Jaime felt out of place in the River of Red. So, like, is he not seeing himself with the Lannisters anymore? Like, at some point, is he making like a hard split?
I like that.
Where is he at? Like, I know Brienne needs to go get him. He's at River Run, right? So, like, he kind of does leave, but like, he's like full into like Lannister.
Well, no, like, one of the last chapters is Jaime gets the letter from Cersei. Cersei's been locked up because of the Faith militant.
Right.
She basically gets Qyburn to send a letter to Jaime being like,
but he's at River Run. He's at
River Run. They've just taken River Run. And he gets the letter and someone brings it to him. And he like rips it up and throws it in the fire or something. which it's not 100% clear if he's saying yes or no.
It could be like I don't want proof of it to be that I have it.
Exactly. It's not sure exactly if he's saying yes or no. Most people take it as like this is okay. Jaime is breaking from the Lannisters. People think like that's like kind of his arc has been like, and you can kind of see it even in these chapters, right? He's growing further away from everybody, even Tyrion, Cersei. So yeah, time to just start doing the right thing instead of doing whatever Cersei says.
Yeah, maybe this is the first line of it all then.
Well, that's a good point. I didn't catch that, but I think you're onto something there.
Yeah, so that was like the first symbolic thing that I read during this. There's some sweet sisters in there.
What about the one thing I thought you were kind of going to it too, and then I thought it was weird was Ares is kind of going crazy about these blades. Doesn't let any swords near him except for the Kingsguard ones. The only reason I'm thinking this is weird is because that quote that I had you read kind of stuck out to me, and it made me think like, could he be having dreams? Like Targaryen vision dreams about him getting his throat like stabbed in the back or something like that.
You would think, because like why would he really be nervous, right? Like he's got these guys around him. He's the king type of thing. Like,
well, especially about blades too. It's almost like he knows a blade is going to be his downfall, and Jaime stabs. Like so, it almost makes me think
like other dangerous thing aren't like were the bowmen allowed to be kind of around type of thing. Like he knew. True. He knew it was a knife. He knew it was a dagger or a dirk.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't really. I didn't think too much on that.
I guess the more like the House of the Dragon kind of leans into a lot of Targaryens having like visions of some sort, and we definitely know there's a few of them from Dunk and Egg and stuff. I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have any rumors of him being a seer.
Yeah, I didn't look into this one, but I don't think there's any main ones that Ares had big visions.
I liked he's getting he was getting chopped up by the throne.
And we've heard this before. I think we've even heard like one of his nicknames was King Scab.
Okay.
But that could also be like the blades that he's not good by.
Who got cut up more, him and Viserys the first?
Well, and one of the things that a lot of people say is, I don't know if a lot, but I think it's a theory that actually became like kind of, I think, popular around the time of the first House of the Dragon season when Viserys was cutting himself on the throne. Is like, okay, what causes kings to get cut more than other kings? And is it that they're bad kings? Well, what does that mean? Like they're bad for who? They're bad for the people. Like they make a bad
decision.
Are they bad for their family?
Yeah.
Some people think it's bad for their family, right? That's why Viserys got cut so much, right? It's because there's about to be a huge civil war between your family because of the shit that you kind of let going. That could explain why Ares is so scabbed by the throne, because he literally kind of ends the Targaryen reign after him, right? Maegor the Cruel got killed by the throne, or on the throne at least. So I think it's an interesting thought to think, because like, could that be part of it too?
Yeah, I'm definitely buying that he could see, he had at least a dream, maybe
of something.
Maybe he didn't think too much into it, and maybe that's why he like really started going crazy. Him tearing up his wife is a little weird. Like it almost makes you think like he thought he was like half dragon himself too. Like I don't.
Yeah, especially because they said like it looked like a beast had clawed her and stuff like that. The way that the maids were explaining like kind of her injuries. Yeah.
But like why he got so crazy that like he didn't want to like bathe or like wash his hair and beard and cut his nails anymore. Like that's fucking weird.
Well, I think the cutting nails thing is supposed to be along with that it requires some sort of blade.
Yeah.
And we're not trusting any blades.
Or even, I guess, cutting your hair too. Like, don't be getting those scissors.
Exactly. The hair thing for sure too, but the washing your hair, like his hair was matted. Like, okay, go take a bath.
Get some shampoo in that shit.
Yeah, you don't need a blade for that. Along the Ares line is one thing I was mentioning was Ares and Cersei parallels. I think I mentioned a lot of them. The other one is, I think this is more from deep history. You probably don't even know it.
I know it for sure.
Ares at one point had dreamed of building a city on the other bank of the Blackwater. This isn't in this chapter, but it's something that I forgot to mention in the last Cersei chapter.
Well, I know Cersei. Cersei said she wanted to.
Exactly. Cersei thought about this in her last Cersei chapter.
Just burn this whole thing down and go over it. I didn't know that he wanted to do that.
Yeah, I think it's from like the World of Ice and Fire, one of those really weird, like, I don't know if it's in the main series, but we definitely do hear that. So that's, I think, again, definitely an intentional parallel.
You got ghosts, bro?
You heard that?
I could hear it, yeah.
I was like,
do you have like a broom or anything like that?
It was like upstairs. That might be a broom. Yeah, maybe. Whatever. So the note that I had written down is Cersei is paralleling more than one king here. She's also paralleling, I think, and it gets more into it as the Cersei chapters keep going, is Robert. right? Robert
just drinking,
and then there's a part when she has Taina over, exactly, and she kind of has her way with Taina, and she's even thinking to herself like, "This must be like what Robert felt like." He's like, Robert would love you.
I do remember that. I actually forgot. I forgot that until you just brought it up. I'm like, she did just like.
And again, like the sex scenes are awkward with George because like he gets too into them, but a lot of them matter, right? Like Cersei has the sex scene with Taina. I think
it's power more than
power, and it's like a parallel to Rob, who definitely was like abusive and kind of controlled women in this way. Just had his way with them. So
I don't remember what she does to Taina. What does she do? Just like
I don't think anything just crazy. Just like makes her come and then goes to sleep or something like that. And she's like, Robert would love you.
But it wasn't like she wasn't like choking her. She wasn't like choking her out or anything. I don't
think so. Anything crazy. But Dany's doing the same thing where Dany's like kind of having sexual stuff with her handmaid at least once or twice, and then I think Dario comes into it a little bit and Dance the Dragon. So yeah, I just thought the Cersei Robert parallel between they're like Jaime seems to call out to it directly when he's almost like, oh, look how much she's drinking
every day.
Exactly, like what you used to scold Robert for. So the other thing is, again, Jaime keeps thinking Cersei, Lancel, Osmond, Kettleblack, and Moonboy. For all I know, well, it's not Osmond Kettleblack. It's Osney Kettleblack. I think that'll be.
Yeah, that doesn't matter to me. They're just Kettleblacks.
Well, I think the next Cersei chapter 4. I think it's a big council. Like it's a 23-page chapter, and I think 20 pages of it is a council meeting. Well, I think 4 pages of it is her getting dwarf heads delivered to her. There's a big really big council meeting.
And she like introduced her new council.
All her new councils there: Pycelle, Arrayne Waters. I was wrong, and I think in one of the other spoiler sections I had mentioned to you, I forget who I told you. I told you who the hand was. I was wrong. I think I might have told you it was Merryweather.
You told me Qyburn.
It's Qyburn in the show. I thought I might have told you it was Merryweather in the books. It's actually Harry Swift in the books. Merryweather does get a seat on the council as like Lord of Laws or something like that.
Nothing.
Justice here or something. But Harry Swift is the Hand of the King, who is basically just like it's a yes man.
Yes,
he's going to let me do whatever I want, pretty much. Exactly. Yeah.
So what is Qyburn? Just a guy?
He's Varys' spot. Master Whisperers, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which in the show, he does both jobs. He's the Hand and Master of Whisperers.
I think, yes, exactly. So Jaime here, again, when Jaime's going through this list, he's like, and he mentions Qyburn, it's because Jaime somehow has heard some of these applicants, and not for Hand, but Qyburn for Master of Whispers. Like, Qyburn, you can't have Qyburn as your master. And Jaime doesn't say as Master of Whispers. He says you can't have Qyburn. He was with Vargo. So yeah. And I think that chapter ends with Cersei and Osney. And at one point in there, Osney says, basically, I think Cersei says, okay, go fuck Marjorie. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to send you to the wall, but don't worry, you'll come back. There's so much. Cersei basically sends people to the wall to kill Jon.
Like, don't worry.
She sends people to the wall to kill Jon Snow too. In the next chapter, or they had that idea, which I was thinking of, like, does that actually happen?
Because he's helping Stannis. Like,
well, they heard he became Lord Commander.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
And they're like, well, he's a Stark, so
enemy,
gotta go. Exactly, and Janos is still up there, so let's get rid of him. And then Janos is next up.
Janos, our guy.
Yeah. So yeah, I just thought the Osney thing was cool because it was just Jaime thinks Osmond so many times it's actually Osney.
Is that because Tyrion gave him the wrong name, or like?
Yeah, Tyrion knew, again, kind of like you did. Who knows? One of the fucking Kettleblacks, there's weird shit going on there is what Tyrion is thought. So he just picked the highest one. But yeah. Cersei says, next one. Right? Sorry, I'm jumping around. Next point.
She's trusting Bolton too much, right?
Well, Bolton is stuck in the south. Ramsay's going to open Moat Cailin. We kind of said to Kyle, he's coming down. He's just going to attack it and do that. That's not really what happens. This is the same as the show. Do you remember what happens? How do we get Moat Cailin?
They send a sick person in, infect everybody, and they die.
Well, who holds Moat Cailin?
Crackjaw.
It was Victarion, but Victarion actually got
Cleftjaw.
Dagmar's at Torrhen Square. Victarion got pulled back to go to the Kingsman anyway, so he's not there either. But the point is, it's Ironborn.
Oh yeah, okay. I thought you were asking for an actual.
Well, the answer is, does Ramsay know the Ironborn?
Reek, we got Reeky.
Exactly. He sends Reek in, but Reek, no, you. And this is where I am at this. When I was alluding to Kyle, I'm at a spot that's kind of crossing over with this, and I re-listened through Dance. Yeah. Within the past week, I've listened to the Reek chapter where Ramsay's like, you got to pretend to be Theon Greyjoy, and he goes and convinces all the Ironborn to give up Moat Cailin. And in return, they'll get to go home, and Ramsay just flays them all anyway. But that's how Roose gets north. And when Cersei says, "Oh, Ramsay will take care of it," she probably doesn't know that Ramsay has Theon. But like that was that's one of those like really fucked up crossovers when you remember it. Is like, damn, Cersei saying Ramsay will take care of it is saying he's using torture to ask Theon to do this.
Well, so how does Theon get them sick?
They're already sick. They're just sick because they've been getting shot with arrows and they don't have any food. And Victarion only left the ones no one likes left. He's like, you're literally basically Theon shows up. A lot of people are sick and dying. I don't know if people are necessarily sick from like a disease, but like anyone who's got shot at all by an arrow gets like a nasty infection because they're in like the Crannog
swampland.
And they say that they poison their arrows or at least wipe them with shit so that you're getting infected. So basically, Theon's like, you can live if you surrender. They surrender and they don't live, but yeah. And then the last thing I have here is jousting. Oh, jousting. There's a line when Jaime sees the knights jousting where he's like, they always said jousting was 3/4 horsemanship. Does that make you think of anything?
Jousting is 80% mental and 40% physical.
Horsemanship matters more about how good you ride rather than how good you are with a sword. I think this is important, and fans think this is important because of the Knight of the Laughing Tree, which is the tourney at Harrenhal that Jojen and Amira's dad goes to. Jojen and Amira's dad gets picked on.
So you're pulling into it being the girl. The girl Lyanna was the mystery knight because she could ride. She loved horses. She rode all the time.
Exactly. And I don't know if I love this idea. It's definitely the fan favorite that Lyanna was the Knight of the Laughing Tree. I think it probably makes the most sense. And this is definitely one of the points that people point to is Jaime, who is a renowned jouster, thinks that jousting is mostly horsemanship. Because one of the main problems people have with that story is, okay, how could Lyanna really actually expect to beat
a good jouster?
Yeah, how could for the most part, a woman's probably not going to be great at jousting, especially Lyanna is probably not practicing jousting. Even if she's riding all the time, she's not practicing jousting. And the answer is, well, it's mostly horsemanship. And I think this is one of the lines people point to a lot. So I just wanted to point it out. The Knight of Laughing Tree tourney at Harrenhal stuff is cool. So
yeah, that was it. I just had Olenna, I thought it was weird to bring her up that she's like, she has the coin. I know we probably don't know the coin.
Yeah, again, I don't think this is something we have. We didn't tell Kyle, but I don't think this is something we have an answer on, which is kind of why. And I think I maybe told Kyle before when I threw out could Qyburn have planted this, because I think it's still potential for us that we don't know. So right, we're getting into a lot of that Qyburn, some of this Qyburn stuff, some of this Taena stuff. I think I mentioned earlier I think we did tell Kyle in the Vale, right, Marillion, that we don't know what happens with Marillion. We didn't tell him that. We were speculating, but he doesn't know that we don't know. But we don't know what really is the deal with Marillion. We hear future from Kyle that he jumped out of the cell, but I don't quite buy that. So
right, show me the body.
Exactly.
And then I just had Kristen Cole, but I don't know. You're not going to tell me anything, so
Well, yeah, and again, I'm not quite sure because I don't know exactly what they're alluding to. Because again, they are different books and show. But if I'm trying to make this last bit make sense, Jaime is trying to think, okay, maybe I could be, the way I'm reading this is maybe I could be like Christian Cole in that, yes, there's some things that people look on me that I did badly, but also maybe I can redeem that. But the other thing is, do people really look on Christian Cole badly?
I mean, he's the kingmaker. I guess it
is that a bad thing though?
I guess it depends on who won at the end of the day.
Exactly. And so it's it's hard to tell.
I don't think, from what I know, I don't think anybody really wins. I know one side kind of wins because somebody doesn't die, but
I mean, they all die by the time of this story, so they all die.
They all die at some point, but out of the Civil War, somebody had to live.
To me, I would almost ask, based on who won is, I don't know, because I feel like you know the answer to this. I would consider who won by whose children.
Yeah, I do know,
but I feel like you know the answer to that. So, do you know the answer to that?
I'm pretty sure Rhaenyra's line lives on, because I know that Daenerys is a line in Rhaenyra's line.
That's fair. So, like, to me, like, that means Rhaenyra won. Does that mean that Rhaenyra outlives Aegon? No. Right? But that's not, because it's complicated, right? Like, it's not as simple as that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think at some point, and I'm kind of excited for it, I think people are just going to get popped off one by one. And it's like, the order doesn't really matter. But at some point, here's a crazy House of Dragon theory.
It fits here because it's Christian Cole.
People get so popped off to that at some point there might be one guy and one girl left from each side, and they're just like, all right, fuck it, we'll marry you two. Let's call this thing quits. Let's get it done.
Which was an early suggestion by one or the other, right? Somebody suggested let's just marry. I think Rhaenyra did, and Alicent's like, we're not married, no fucking bastards, right?
Yeah.
So. I don't hate it. Cool. Yeah, that was the last thing I had.
And maybe Kristen's the only guy there that can be like, fuck it, like, let's stop this here. But
we'll see. I guess the other thing, totally unrelated to the chapter, that, again, will age poorly, and we're talking about at the very end, so it's a horrible place to do it. But there was a blog today. George has seen all 6 of the Night of the Seven Kingdoms episodes, and he said he loves them. And he said it's as faithful.
Stamped approval.
And he said something like it's as faithful as a 1-to-1 adaptation of a book as a reasonable person could ask for. And like in parentheses, he says like, and you guys know how reasonable I can be about this stuff. Mm-hmm. Because last time he literally posted like a blog about how much House of the Dragon diverged and fucked shit up, and then HBO made him take it down. So I thought that was kind of cool that he was kind of like subtweeting himself and like, no, it sounds like he's saying this one is like actually good. Good to me. I would rather, I don't even know. I was about to say I'd rather a bad show that is super faithful, but that just doesn't seem possible to me. To me, the only way to make it good is to make it faithful.
Yeah, what do you mean? You literally cry reading this fucking story.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting that it's cool. Do we know is that this spring?
He said fall. Before he had said early 2025. Now he said late 2025. In the blog post he said like late 2025, whatever that means, probably fall. Yeah, he said something like that. So
yeah, it is what it is.
So we'll find out. But yeah, that's it for this one. We'll see the rest of you guys in the next one. Fan favorite Cersei 4.
Bye.